Watch the dollar. It's actually having a fairly strong little run right now, up again today. But we're starting to break out of this consolidation that we've been in on the upside. That's going to potentially put pressure on kind of these other assets that trade off dollar weakness. All right, here's what you need to know before the bell this morning. Like I said, a little bit of an interesting day yesterday. Markets were down just a smidge. I haven't seen red on my screen here in a while, but we really saw it pick up yesterday in some of the small cap stocks in particular. So, those areas, those small cap stocks, as we noted before, if you go to simplevisor.com, we've launched some new portfolios there, some thematic portfolios back on August the 1st. Today is mid-October. And the small cap, mid cap index was up, or portfolio was up like 22% on the back of a lot of these small cap stocks just having huge days. Well, yesterday, while large caps were down just a smidge, small caps really took a pretty hard hit yesterday across the board. A lot of these big winners, we saw decent reversals in yesterday. Saw the same thing in Bitcoin. I got a couple of phone calls. It's like, hey, what's going on with Bitcoin? Bitcoin's down like 5% going on. There was really nothing going on. It was just Bitcoin had hit a record high here, and all of a sudden yesterday just saw some profit taking come into the markets, a little bit of risk off. Again, very overbought. We've kind of seen this before. One of the things that we kind of be paying attention to with Bitcoin right now, more than anything else, is that you're just building a series of tops here that is at least kind of worth paying attention to. We tried to break out of that previous double top here, but we're building this basing process. So this is either going to be bullish or bearish depending on how it breaks. If Bitcoin can break back above the top of this kind of consolidation band, then it's going to potentially make a push higher. But again, if it fails here and then takes out these lows, you're going to have a decent correction here at some point as well. So again, just kind of pay attention to that price pattern right now. But it was interesting yesterday, kind of some of these more nefarious kind of risk on, risk off assets saw fairly big downturns. Like I said yesterday, Bitcoin, we saw that there. Small cap stocks, we saw it there. And again, just kind of moving across markets as we've been talking about the last few days, we're just, continue to see that kind of speculative push, kind of really overbought conditions across the board. And emerging markets as well had a decent sell-off yesterday. Again, it just, these aren't major, particularly when you're kind of looking at these longer term charts. It doesn't look like a whole lot, but we haven't seen that kind of a down day in emerging markets here for quite a while. It's been fairly muted, but yesterday we really kind of saw some selling come into some of these risk-off assets, or these kind of higher risk-on assets that we haven't seen in a while. So it'll be interesting to see if this is just a one-day blip, or if this is the start of something a little bit larger and worth paying attention to. And particularly when it comes to emerging markets and international markets and things that really kind of trade off that dollar, as we talked about yesterday, watch the dollar. It's actually having a fairly strong little run right now, up again today. But we're starting to break out of this consolidation that we've been in on the upside. That's going to potentially put pressure on kind of these other assets that trade off dollar weakness. Pay attention to that, because we are starting to see some strength here. Getting a little bit overbought here. Again, not suggesting that the dollar's just about to go ripping off, but kind of keep a watch on this. We've formed this very nice long base. We've got this kind of rising trend in the dollar now. So again, just as a risk measure, continue to pay very close attention to the dollar, because that has a lot of impacts on other areas of the market as well, particularly where the narrative is tied against an anti-type dollar trade. So just, again, worth paying attention to. That's what you need to know before the bell this morning.